Hey folks, this is the perfect recipe to do on a day like today. It's been raining, we haven't done the yard in a week, so we're going to literally be spending all day in the yard trimming trees and picking up dog poop and all the good stuff. These are briskets that have been corning. We did our own setup with respect to all the spices, and we'll film that in a separate video. But what we need to do now is cut them out. They've been in for I think two and a half weeks. We're going to cut them out, drain them off, and then put our own rub together. So what I've done is I've scored the fat cap, and this is again a personal preference thing for me. I just want to get the smoke and the rub down there. So just enough it'll break apart as it cooks. And we'll include the recipe below. We've added a couple little different variations. We threw some ancho chili powder in there because we really like it. And so what you want to do at this point is sprinkle the rub on and rub it in really good. Get it in both between these cuts on both sides of the meat, and as well as on the ends. And I'll show you the finished product in a minute. So this is what the finished product after we've rubbed everything in and gotten all the edges, as you can see. Just dip it around the pan, and then we save the rest. We always have extra, and so we save it so we don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. So what we do is we use one of these charcoal chimney lighters. This is hardwood charcoal. I wouldn't personally ever use briquettes for smoking meat, but that's just maybe a personal preference on mine. But I like the fact that it's natural and gives it a really good flavor. One sheet of paper, believe it or not, makes this run. And you literally just pack it up underneath, get it to stay, and light it, and leave it alone. Once it gets going, drop it down, and it astounds me that one sheet of paper will light that whole thing. Okay, look down here. This is what you're looking for when the coals are done. You can see they've cooked down. There's still a little bit of black on them, but they're mostly grayed up. This is my Hillbilly fire pit tool that I always use. So you just pour these in, and I know it doesn't look like it's enough to get anything started, but I spread them out and then pour the charcoal on top of them. This is the brand, by the way. We get it at Home Depot, but you can pretty much get it anywhere. So spread those around, make sure they get in good contact. And then this is the wood that we use. We prefer to use the chunk. There's a local guy that we buy this from. You can use the chips as well if you can't find chunks like this. This just lasts a lot longer. I'd suggest, if you're using chips, to put them to obviously soak them, put them in a foil pack and poke holes in them, because they'll last a lot longer. But basically, I just reach down the bottom. These have been soaking overnight. Get a good piece, put it right on top of the new charcoal, and then we wait to see when everything starts smoking. Okay, you see we got the smoke started. So now's the perfect time. You don't have to wait till it gets up to temperature, although it already is. The good thing about this grill is, unless you put dry wood in it, it really doesn't get any hotter than 225, which ironically is exactly the temperature you want. So the setup on the grill looks like this. You always want to have a liquid just to kind of keep it from getting too dry. You'll end up having to add, this is just water. If you're doing ribs, you'd use cider, that kind of thing. And then we put drip pans underneath just to cut down on our cleanup and keep the grill a little bit nicer. So what you want to do is set it with the fat cap up, and that's because as it cooks and smokes, that'll dissolve and make the meat that more flavorful. So your wood typically lasts about an hour. So since we're out here in the backyard, we look over it, we stop seeing smoke, I come back, check the charcoal, make sure the temp's still good, and add another chunk. Okay, hey guys, pardon the yard working attire here, but the grill's at 200 degrees, it's dropped a little bit, so now it's time to add some more charcoal and smoke. You can see you don't really have to mess with this much. Occasionally, about halfway through the cooking process, which is about 10 hours, I will rotate these around, switch sides, just so it gets more coverage. But there's nothing to the next steps. Obviously, we're just going to add some more charcoal. Pull it out a little bit. Reach deep down to the bottom and get one that's been soaking real well. That's a good one. Throw it in. We've got probably 8 more hours to go. Okay, hey folks. So it has been, we put this on about 11:30 and it's 7:20. And typically in smoking stuff, ribs and brisket and that kind of thing, we're looking at like a good solid 10 hours. So I was expecting to like have to lean into it hard and be out here at like midnight. But what we're looking for is a temperature of 190 on the pastrami. We're at 184 and I've tested it, poked this in. This is an instant read thermometer. I seriously encourage you guys to get one of these. They're fantastic for barbecuing. And I put this in several different areas. What's funny is when you look at this, it looks like you've destroyed a perfectly good piece of meat. But in a little while after we let this rest, I'm going to cut it and you can see what we have going here. This is just the crust that's on the outside. I know it looks funny, it looks bad, it looks like it's something that you put a blowtorch through, or two, but anyway, so we're going to pull these off, we're going to let them rest for a little bit, and then we'll slice into them and show you the final result. Okay guys, it is 8 o'clock. We pulled these off about 7:30, having a cocktail. Oliver and I are fixing to carve into this thing. Already started a little bit. So here's the thing. I was under the impression, just trying to remember, I thought it was about 10 hours to smoke these. But again, the internal temperature needs to be about 190. So it's a little bit warmer, some more coals, whatever. So you kind of have to vary depending on what kind of smoker you're using. But here is the finished product. This is pastrami. And you want to cut it against the grain on the bias with a sharp knife at an angle. And I, only wish we had the smell-o-vision that they talk about, because it absolutely smells amazing. It's completely done. You can see that fat cap didn't completely cook through. So we typically slice it up and then we freezer bag it. So that is pastrami a la Jim and Karen. So we invite you to lean into it and give it a shot.